The Seattle Seahawks should beat the Arizona Cardinals on Thursday. History tells you that's the case, and I think the big change for the Cardinals offense of James Conner out for the season is going to make a big difference. It's going to allow Mike Macdonald to put together some good schemes and have Kyler Murray running around in a frenzy. So let's talk about this. First, I don't want this to just be a homer biased situation. I don't think the Seahawks are going to win every single game this year. Sometimes I'm going to talk about why they can win this game or why they are, have a good chance to win this. This one is more just cleared based on history and based on what Mike Macdonald's defense can do to Kyler Murray and the Cardinals. The Seahawks came early into this game with the betting odds as underdogs by 2.5 points or 2 points. And the line has moved so much to Seahawks being favored. So it's not just me that believes it. The big money bettors, the fans, they're all betting on the Seahawks, and the line has moved all the way from being 2.5 point underdogs to being favorites in this game. And there's a few reasons, of course. I want to start with just the history for fun. The Seahawks and Cardinals obviously play twice a year. The Cardinals have not beat the Seahawks in 7 straight games. And that includes the games in Arizona. In 2022 was when this streak started. The Seahawks beat the Cardinals 38-30 in Arizona. In 2022 again, the following season in November, they beat them 31-21 in Arizona. In 2024, they beat them 21-20. And then late 2024, the next season, they beat them 30-18. Now in 2025, we get our one game on the road in Arizona, and I'm expecting another win. I'm expecting to take this to 8 in a row. And there's a few reasons. That was the fun statistic, just history. There's also the fact that if you've been to an Arizona Cardinals game against the Seahawks, which I'm going to this Thursday, it usually is a majority Seahawks fans, like 65 to 70% Seahawks fans. There's a lot of Seattleites living in Arizona, a lot of them that vacation in Arizona, a lot of them that have family and friends in Arizona, and it's just always packed with Seahawks fans. It's not just the Seahawks games in Arizona. There's some few other teams that get that. A lot of the LA teams, Philadelphia, a lot of that Midwest, East Coast teams. Not always, but a lot of times. It's a lot of opposing fans. But Seattle pulls a huge crowd every single time in Arizona, 65, 70% Seahawks fans. So it's not really a home field advantage or, this crazy good home game for the Cardinals. It's usually almost like an away game, the way the crowd is, unfortunately, for the Cardinals. And, I think the Cardinals are a little bit better than people think. I'm not saying they're great, but I feel like they get, especially from Seahawks, Rams, 49ers fans, they're kind of the lowest class of the NFC West. The Rams have won the Super Bowl in the last few years. Seahawks won in the last, 10 years, 12 years, whatever it's been. And they've been a team that consistently wins 10 games. The 49ers are always winning. I know they haven't won a Super Bowl since most of you have been born. It's a little hate towards the 49ers. It's a little slight, but they're always good. The Cardinals have always kind of been the bottom tier of the NFC West, other than a few years, those Kurt Warner years where they made a Super Bowl run. They've just happened to be the team that's the worst in the division. They're like the Jaguars of the division, or whoever, the Browns of the division. Not as bad as the Browns, but of the division. But I think this year, you got to remember they are a missed field goal away or a Marvin Harrison catch away against the 49ers last week from being a 3-0 football team. And I looked at some of the PFF numbers. Overall, they're sitting at number 14 compared to the Seahawks, who are sitting at number 2. Better football team, of course. Offensively, Seahawks are at 5. Cardinals are at 14. Defensively, the Cardinals are at 11, which is pretty decent. The Seahawks are at 7th. So it's not like this crazy big difference. Maybe the overall ratings, but offensively, they're, a top 15 offense. Defensively, they're one away from being a top 10 defense. But they did lose James Conner for the season. And James Conner is just one of those seasoned vets that is a huge piece for the Cardinals, a huge piece of their offense, a huge piece to what gets them going, in a power run game, and then Kyler gets to run around, play action, and make big plays. But now it's going to be Trey Benson, and I'm just not certain that this is a situation where they're going to be able to turn this offense into the same offense it is with Benson instead of James Conner. And I think the Seahawks will take advantage of that. The thing about Mike Macdonald is, one, if you watched him against Kyler last year, he had him in a frenzy running around, just spinning around, having to throw the ball away. I was at the game in Arizona last year. He made Kyler look like a shell of himself. And I feel like Kyler is probably, the 13th, 14th best quarterback in the NFL. He's a middle of the pack guy that if you have the right pressure on him, it's hard for him to succeed. And that's what's kind of going to happen when you have a defense like Mike Macdonald's defense. And the Seahawks, despite not having Julian Love last week, despite not having Nick Emanworry since like the first snap of week 1, despite not having Devin Witherspoon the last 2 games, they have figured out a way to be one of the best defenses in the entire NFL. They are, 7th overall on defense on PFF grading. In DVOA, they are the 5th best defense. They've allowed 15.7 points per game, which is second best in the NFL, only to the Packers, who allowed 14.7. You have Derek Hall, who's coming into his own. We know the defensive line is good already, but then Byron Murphy breaking out right now, who's second in sacks among defensive interior players, third in QB pressures, third in QB hurries in the entire NFL, all defensive players. Those breakouts are making the Seahawks defense even better. And without those secondary guys, you had Darion Kendrick, who has 2 interceptions, which is tied for the most in the league for corners. He had the highest PFF grade of any defensive player on the Seahawks last week in week 3. You have Josh Jobe stepping up, who has the second best passer rating allowed outside of Dante Jackson in the entire NFL for corners. So everyone's stepping up. This is just what Mike Macdonald defenses do. If you are big on Twitter, you would have seen yesterday or 2 days ago, whatever it was, yesterday, when the Ravens were, the Lions kept scoring on them. A Ravens fan, a tweet went viral, had like 10,000 likes of a picture of Mike Macdonald, like, "Oh, we miss you." And Mike Macdonald is in Ravens gear. He makes these defenses different. He made Patrick Queen like from almost a bust to an all-pro. He does this. When he was at Michigan, he turned them around into a defensive powerhouse. When he went to the Ravens, they were a defensive powerhouse. He comes to the Seahawks, and they're already a top 5 to 7 defense. And I think once fully healthy and once Mike Macdonald gets his whole hands on everything, it's going to be a defense that's in the top 5 or 6 or 7th, like all year, maybe top 3 or 4. It's what he does, and it's what he's going to continue to do. So I think this is a very, very likely win for the Seahawks. Like I said, the home field thing, it's almost a Seahawks home game. Like I said, the defense coming into its own. Kyler Murray having to deal without having James Conner, and Marvin Harrison's his number 1, but Marvin Harrison's been struggling to make big plays in the NFL and had a big drop that cost him the game yesterday or this last weekend. So overall, when you see the line shift the way it did, when you see what the Seahawks defense is doing, what the offense did last week, the ability to also, this was a big part, is the Cardinals got banged up, lost James Conner, and played a game to the last second against the 49ers, lost on a last-second field goal. That's what they're dealing with. The Seahawks got to rest their starters in the fourth quarter. In this 4-day turnaround, that makes a big difference. They got to rest their starters. Julian Love, Devin Witherspoon got one more, cycle of a week. I guess it was 4 or 5 days, but to recover and hopefully play on Thursday. All these things make a really big difference for how this game's going to go. So I think based on everything, the history, the crowd, the defense, losing James Conner for the Cardinals, Seahawks having a lot more rest, even though they played on Sunday just like the Cardinals did, just being able to rest your starters at the end of a game, and while the Cardinals played to a last-second moment, that all makes a huge difference. So I'd be pretty surprised if the Seahawks don't pull this one out. I'll be at that game. I'll be cheering loud for the Seahawks to help that home field advantage for the Seahawks. I can't wait. Let me know your predictions in the comments. Who's going to win this game? What's the final score? Let me know. I love y'all, and we'll see you tomorrow.